understood from the beginning of the organizing of this event that it was supposed to be one that would be fun and joyful. So isn't it great that they started by serving the wine rather than making you wait until the end? I mean, that was just a...
It would have been nice if they served some to me as well.
Red or white? Okay, got that. So my name is Ron Kaufman, and it is a treat and a privilege to be able to be your MC this evening. We've got a great lineup happening up here for you. So allow me to introduce my colleagues and my friends, the amazing humans who are sitting up here first. Ladies first, Annie Koch.
Yay!
So she is an emeritus professor, a powerhouse in the academic world, and a beloved figure in the world of business
Very
education.
much.
Robin wrote this. Piyush Gupta is the admiral and the captain steering the ship at DBS, one of Asia's leading banks. Who wrote that? It is Asia's
One of Asia's leading men. What nonsense.
Since taking the
I'm
helm
gonna have a
in
tough night.
2009, Piyush hasn't just been keeping the lights on, he's been turning DBS into a digital powerhouse, earning it the title of World's Best Bank 5 years in a row. Oh, by the way,
Yes,
for
thank
those
you.
of you who are seated in the front row, there are complimentary copies of both of these books.
But only the front row.
For those of you who are not in the front row,
And there are two
there
chairs.
are- if you're in the front row, they're complimentary. If you're not in the front row, they're free.
Thanks, Philip.
If you're in the back row, we pay you to take them.
Which leaves you. Robin Speculand is our featured author this evening for the launch of his newest book, which is Implement...
No, other one,
Oh,
Ron.
there we go. It's a team effort here. I first met Robin in 1993. I'd come to Singapore in 1990. I was up in Macau doing a service team building program for Motorola. It wasn't long after that he saw that there was even more to sustaining successful long-term results. So he stepped out of Citi. He started his own consulting firm called Bridges International, and he published this book called Beyond Strategy. That's the right one, yes.
Check the glasses.
Yeah, there we go. Fast forward. A few years later, he's reconnected with Piyush after the Citigroup years, and he published this bestseller, World's Best Bank, and now, of course, his most recent book. I think you know the title. What is it? Implement, subtitle, Doing It Right in a Digital World.
Just as a warm-up, there are 4 million books are published every year across all categories. And there's one category that sells makes $3.3 billion a year. So your first test question, what's the top selling category of books?
Pornography.
Making banking joyful took a whole new meaning. Yes, Matt, you said it? Someone said it. Children. Yeah, Binu, thank you. So the challenge we have is the transformation cannot fail, and yet 2/3 do, and only 1 out of 8 companies deliver a long-term sustained value. And many leaders, they plan the strategy, and leaders know what to do, but knowing what to do and doing it is 2 different things. And in the book, what I've had the opportunity to do is to share my passion, which you all know I live and breathe, which is to help many organizations achieve that. And what's missing? So they know what to do, so why aren't they doing it? So the first part of the book, the first thing people are missing is the discipline. And I talk about how you need the discipline, the tenacity, and the passion. The second part of the book is what also is missing is the framework and the structure. You Google for strategy, plethora of tools come out. But how do you actually go and implement it? Well, they're missing the tools and the frameworks. So the second part of the book, I introduce a number of frameworks, predominantly the implementation compass that has been my steady tool over the years. But we also developed the implementation canvas. There's an assessment tool that you use.
So that journey, all right, maybe you could share with us, Piyush, what were some of the biggest challenges then? And you mentioned often that there must be alignment.
You can talk a lot about implementation. I'm going to bias my comments towards the book, Implementing in a Digital World, because there are some nuanced differences which are worth appreciating. And so I'm going to touch on, I scribbled down the 6 things which I think are worth taking away. The first of these is, see, in today's world, when you said transform in digital world, the reality is everything is digital. And so when people talk about the IT sector or a tech company and the non-tech company, you're just smoking. Every company is a tech company. And if you have not embraced technology and you don't think and leverage technology in what you're doing, you're going to die. So the first, to me, fundamental is you've got to believe you're a technology company. And that is profound because it's not easy. It's easy to say. But when I first started saying we're not a bank, we're a tech company delivering financial services, and my board was quite uncomfortable with the thought. The thought was, we're a regulated sector, we're a bank, and do you really want to be a tech company? But for me, recognizing that your frame of reference and your competitive landscape had to be Amazon and Alibaba and Google. And so to me, that's the first thing. If you really want to drive digital transformation or transform in a digital world, you've got to inculcate this complete belief that you have to be thinking like Amazon. And so the questions you have to ask yourself is, what would Amazon do? Or what would Google do? And you've got to also link that the customer expectation and the bar on the customer journey is no longer what other competitors are doing, it's what Google is offering. So I sometimes joke, when I started banking, it was okay to deliver a product in 72 hours or 48 hours. And I remember when I was young, the first time I was able to do same-day delivery, somebody gave an application for a draft in the morning, and I figured a process to give the draft back after lunch. I became a hero. But can you imagine Google, you type something in the morning, you get a response in the afternoon? Instant. So the tech world means everything needs to be instant. You've got to change your frame of reference. Because the person who comes to do banking is also the person who was on Google 1 second ago. And the expectation is set by Google or by any of these big tech firms. So the first of this, you really have to believe, and you've got to get everybody to figure that you are a tech company. And that's your benchmark, that's your competitive environment, and there's a lot you can learn from them. The second is there's a lot of debate. I think people are more bought into it now. But 10 years ago when we started, the big debate on whether a legacy company like ours can really change end to end, right? So the received wisdom, the Harvard Business Reviews, and this thing was that you better create something on the side. So you get some kids in torn jeans, put them in a garage, and create a startup, or you create a separate division to do this transformation because the old people can't. My learning has been that if you really want to implement well, it's got to be all or nothing. You have to take everybody on that journey. It's crucial. Alignment is crucial. So if you want everybody, we have 40,000 people. When we were doing this, we had some 15, 20,000 people. But if you want 15, 20, 30,000 people all to march to the same drumbeat, then you have to focus very, very hard on alignment. So I told Robin once, strategy is important, but by and large, you put some bright kids in a room and give them 3 months, order of magnitude, they'll come up with a decent strategy. It'll be shades of difference, right? To me, the biggest thing, and I spent almost a year and a half after that, is alignment. Then execution happens. But how do you get alignment? Alignment is at multiple levels. So when people talk about vision, mission, purpose, the biggest power of vision, mission, purpose is getting in alignment. If you can get your people to buy into a vision of what you're trying to do, we have an external brand thing of live more, bank less, or making banking joyful. It takes time to get people to understand why we're trying to do this. What is the intent of this? But when everybody in the company buys into this thing, hey, we're all trying to do this. It's like Kennedy and Man on the Moon. Second thing is then you've got to be able to do what these two gentlemen do so well. Communication is critical. It's an underrated skill. I tell all the young kids today, number one skill, you've got to know how to be able to communicate well, both written but verbal. Take people with you. And which means storytelling is very important. Narrating is very important. Being able to package is very important. But the most important part of alignment is your discipline. I'm anal about scorecards. So, the balanced scorecard goes back a long way, but we make this scorecard a religion. We spend months every year end all collectively determining what we want to achieve next year. I take a first stab at it. My planning group takes a stab at it. We sit 20 of us in a management team and say, okay, what did we not get right this year? What do we really want to get right? we come to a conclusion, I take it to the board, then each one of the 20, each of us shares our personal scorecard with each other, so everybody knows what everybody is trying to achieve, and everybody knows how it's aligned to Piyush's scorecard, and then we cascade it down the company, and we do the reverse at the end of the year. We do all our evaluations upwards. It's painful, and it takes weeks to do it. But I have to tell you, there is so much power. If you ask most of my people today what made the difference, they say the scorecard made the difference. Because then you can actually direct people to what you want. When we started this transformation, we carved out 20% of our scorecard only on transformation metrics.
You actually title Implement, Doing It Right in a Digital World. How do you know that it's right?
If you think 10 years back, before we all really embraced a digital world, we were all working in technology, and 2/3, for example, of SAP projects were failing, and most of us knew that. Okay, and Nat, you've been doing it for years in Microsoft and other Philips, and and you knew the challenges we faced, and we worked together on some of those. And then, the other side of it is you try and change culture, and as you said yourself, one of the toughest things to change in DBS was the culture. I think you're most proud of is how you changed the culture in it. And 2/3 of culture transformations would fail. What are you doing in digital transformation? You're taking the technology that fails 2/3 of the time, you're taking culture that fails 2/3 of the time, you're putting it together in the same pot, and you're expecting a different result. Okay, cheesy, gila, it's crazy. It's not going to happen. So the challenge we have is, leaders were struggling, and what we've seen and work that Ron and I do with different organizations and with Annie is that we go in and they're just struggling to find what needs to work. So how do you know if it's working? Well, Piyush has emphasized, and we both have the passion around the scorecard and very much, guiding you around that. But what about the employees? How do you know if they're doing it right? So strategy, I define it as making the right choices. You choose which customers, which segment, which markets you're going into. So what is implementation all about? The right actions.
Robin, congratulations.
Thanks, Kevin.
I'm sure you're going to inspire a lot of people to kind of drive change. But what is one fear that you have from folks who are reading your book, that they might take it away, maybe the wrong way, the wrong direction, in a way that you think you would probably think is the
complacency. It's easy to read a book. It's easy to hear a panel. It's easy to go to a workshop. To actually make it happen is the bigger challenge. So the biggest drive, for me personally, it's that strategy and implementation are two different fields. And Paul Leonard, who did the research he published in Harvard, only 8% of leaders have the ability to do both, craft and implement. So the challenge is that everyone gets excited about strategy, but when Piyush says, can you help on the implementation, they're not quite so excited. We know that. So the goal is, for me, is to get them as excited and engaged. So that's why I call it discipline, passion, and tenacity. But many people lack that. So it's finding that within them, and that it's not just another book, but we start, a whole momentum that implementation really is that unique field, and it deserves, you got to have an equal balance of strategy and